Hi, for anyone new to the channel, I'm Linda and we are Wines, Pines, and Canines. Now Troy and I are in beautiful southern Utah for the next few weeks, enjoying everything that this area has to offer. We're going to have some upcoming videos on some of the more popular places and on some of the lesser known places. So if you'd like to see those, please hit that subscribe button. But today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about what we do to keep bugs and, well, critters on the outside of our camper instead of inside our camper. So we have been camping for about 5 years, and over that time between our Class C and our GeoPro, we've had to deal with things like spiders, ants, wasps, and the dreaded mouse. So today we're going to let you know what things we've used or what things we've done to go ahead and prevent those from getting inside our camper. Now, we have had 2 experiences with mice inside the camper, and both of those were in our Class C. The first time, I left one of those little ketchup packets, and well, they found it. So we went ahead, made sure everything was out of the camper, cleaned it up. Second time, we went down to do some work in the camper, and I bent down to the couch to pick something up, and I came eyeball to eyeball with one of the little critters. Luckily, he was dead. Well, luckily for me, I don't know, but luckily for him. But the reason he was inside our camper is we found that we had left some toilet paper and paper towels, and he had made himself a nice little nest and home out of that as it was getting into winter. So that taught us to make sure that we take all food and bedding products out of our camper.
So in a few hours we're going to check for mice. We're going to do that by going underneath the camper with a flashlight and shining it up through the floor with the lights off and seeing if we can determine any little spots that light could be coming through, i.e. mice could be squeezing into our camper. We haven't had a problem in a while, and we're going to try and keep it that way. In a few moments I'm going to go underneath the camper in good light, and you can see where I'm looking and why. These are the kind of things that I'm looking for. These are the low point drains on the campsite of the camper. They're nicely sealed. What I'm looking to do is make sure that I don't see any recent, road debris can smack into the bottom of your camper and it can tear this paper. Here's a location where the gas line runs from the propane tanks to up underneath the camper by the freshwater holding tank. This foam sealant that they put on at the factory can sometimes wear out. It looks like it's in good shape, but sometimes this stuff can fall away, and that can make a nice place for a mouse to climb through. Now this little crowded location is on the utility side of the camper, and this is where all your water lines and your electrical from the nose of the camper, this is where they come up into that vacant space underneath our bed. This is a prime example of a place where a mouse can get in if you don't take a look and make sure that the foam insulation is still in place. Here's another location. This is all the way at the back of the camper, and this is where a lot of electrical feed wires come down and around from either the front of the camper. This is just behind the black tank holding tank. I'm also going to inspect all of the belly paper underneath the camper to make sure that there's no tears and road debris hasn't punctured it in any location.
Okay, I am going to head inside. We're going to go ahead and turn off all the lights. Okay, it is pitch black in here, so we're going to go ahead and see if we see anything. So there's one right there. It's under the stove area. There seems to be a little gap. I'm in position by the wheel well. Okay, not seeing any light coming in here. Yeah, you can see a little light coming through over by where the water filter is. Yep. So I am by the bathroom sink now. Nope, nothing. Well, there you have it. That was last night. And honestly, we find that the best way to keep mice out is to not make the inside attractive to them and make sure that they can't get inside. That way we don't have to figure out what products we need to get rid of them. So we did this last year. We didn't have a problem, but obviously this year there's some little holes.
Yeah, these are very small holes, but that's why we do it semi-annually. We check it out. When I get back closer to the house, I've got the, I'll figure out what sealant I'm going to use, and I'll probably show it in an upcoming video on how I resolved it.
Right, but right now, let's talk about some other pests.
Inside my propane cover last year, I found a black widow spider, which makes me concerned because I have to reach inside that cover to turn the propane tanks on and off depending on what I'm up to. But I talked to my brother and he had an idea that's worked for him and his camper. Now I can't be certain that it works, but I also know that inside my propane cover I no longer have any insects of any kind. We installed a typical dog collar and just wrapped it around the mounting bracket. Just no big deal. So far, no bugs. We choose to use these metal screens around any of the exhaust ports on our camper to make sure that bugs aren't allowed inside to these compartmental areas. Last time we had a camper before this one, it was a Class C, and we noticed one day, and we were just into camping, that we saw wasps flying in and out of these containment areas. What you don't want is you don't want to get bit by a wasp, but almost as importantly, if not more, you don't want to see the wasp nest clog some of your plumbing items or some of the components of your appliances and cause you a lot of problems on the road. So these guys are held in place by little springs, and they work really well. The reason this is in my hands and not attached to my camper is because I was lucky enough to locate this when it had fallen off. I wasn't able to retrieve the springs. They must have gone far and far away. But you can order replacement springs, and the little tool that you use to put the springs on and then attach it to your camper, it's about $5. I don't know if you can see them very easily, but Linda and I also installed these little mesh grates on the back side of the refrigerator. This is also a problem area, and these little grates worked really nice. Here's two more. These are on our furnace on the side of our small couples camper. All the vents that we have for our small camper cost us approximately $50, but it's certainly a small price to pay when you consider the amount of damage or inconvenience you're going to have if your appliances don't work.
Now, as we are on a 1-month trip, and we're about 10 days into this, we're just taking kind of a free day to kind of kick back, relax, and do some maintenance items around the camper. One of those is to go ahead and apply this, which is Hot Shot Ant and Roach Gel Bait. Now, we used this the first time about 5 years ago when we got our Class C and found out we had an ant problem. Since then, about every 6 months, we go ahead and apply it around the camper, and we have not had any problem with ants or roaches or really any kind of bugs inside the camper since. So, might be coincidence, but for now, this works for us. So we're going to go ahead and show you where we place it. Because we have, a little bit here, we're very careful to not put it anywhere that he could get to. So it usually means, pulling out some panels and getting behind drawers and things like that. So right now, Troy's going to go ahead and kind of break down some of these areas, and we're going to go ahead and apply this.
For me, the most logical places to apply it are places that bugs can get to, but my dog cannot. So I'm going to look for panels and access areas in drawers or in back plumbing areas, because that's pretty much where you're going to have your bug problems, wherever there's a source of water or wherever there's a source of food. So that's what I do, and it seems to work really well so far. The first place I want to apply some is around the fender well in our camper underneath the slide. We have put the access panel on hinges so I can lift it up and put it around the fender well, drop this panel back down. Next place I put some is I'm going to pull the clothing out of the little dresser that we've made and fabricated underneath the TV. I pulled the access panel off to the inverter, and I put some inside that cavity. Then I screw the panel back on, put the clothing back. At the sink area, I'll pull that bottom drawer out, reach back in there, and I'll apply some to that fender well underneath our sink area. Next place I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that little panel out underneath the bathroom vanity and put some around where all the plumbing connections are and the penetrations are to the underside of the camper by our outside shower. And lastly, I'm going to pull for us the drawer underneath our bed out completely, and I'm going to put a couple dabs of it around our water system and around our furnace.
Now there's a couple of reasons we like using this product. The first one is the fact that this camper is in storage 9 months out of the year. So a lot of people do use an outside product and apply it to anything that touches the ground, like, wheels, your stabilizer jacks, or your hoses. But because it's in storage, it would be, subject to the elements. So every time it rained, we'd be coming back up to the camper to go ahead and reapply just to make sure it was still working. By applying inside, we don't have to worry about that. But there is one more reason.
And that reason is, it gives you an opportunity to go into parts of your camper that you normally don't think about or look at very often. As it turns out, yesterday when I did a black tank flush, the same day I pulled that panel off to apply the bug bait, I noticed that I had a small leak. Knowing that I have a small leak lets me know that I have to make a solution and solve the problem, but it prevents a long-term water issue that I wouldn't have known about otherwise. So there you have it, a thorough inspection of our camper following a few maintenance items. It allows us to move forward, and as always, it gives us another to-do list. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe, and as always, Desi wants you to hit that notification bell.